Most people who cross over to another world get a legendary sword, a hidden bloodline, or a system that grants them infinite mana. I got a cow. Not a golden cow. Not a fire-breathing cow. Just a single, rib-thin, dusty dairy cow that looks like it's one bad sneeze away from a heart attack. My name is Kong Du-yoon. I am standing in the center of the city of dead dust, and I have exactly 3 minutes before 2,000 starving people tear me and this animal into a red smear on the pavement. The air here doesn't feel like air. It feels like hot sand and powdered bone. There hasn't been a drop of rain in 3 years. The fields outside the walls are so cracked they look like a shattered mirror. The trees are bleached white skeletons, stripped of their bark by people desperate enough to eat wood. A blue screen flickers in my vision. It's cold, professional, and looks more like a spreadsheet from a nightmare than a game menu. System, Living Chain Protocol version 1.0 activated, current location, City of Dead Dust, ruined, City Survival Index, 2.1%, terminal state, population, 2,103, 94% malnourished, 45% critical. Primary asset, 1x common dairy cow, status, severely exhausted, cow health, 34% hunger, 88% milk production, 0L. Objective, establish a closed loop. If the cow dies, the survival index hits 0% within 48 hours. Kill it. Slice its throat now, a man screams from the front of the mob. His skin is stretched so tight over his cheekbones that his face looks like a skull wrapped in yellow parchment. He's holding a rusted kitchen knife. Behind him, dozens of others are inching forward, their eyes wide and bloodshot. They aren't looking at me. They are looking at the cow's neck. To them, this isn't a living creature. It's a miracle made of beef. Move, kid, a heavy voice growls. That's Captain Hargas. He's the head of the city guard, or what's left of it. He's 6 feet of muscle and desperation, holding a spear that's more rust than iron. He looks at the cow, and I see his Adam's apple bob as he swallows dry spit. This beast is the property of the city now, Hargas says. We'll divide the meat. 2 ounces for every citizen. It's the first real protein we've seen since the last mule was eaten a year ago. The crowd roars in approval. It's a hollow, terrifying sound. 2 ounces of meat. That's a snack. To them, it's a 3-day extension on their life sentence. I step in front of the cow. My heart is hammering so hard I can hear it in my ears, but I have to be the smartest person in this plaza because I am definitely the weakest. Captain, if you kill this cow, you aren't feeding the city, I shout. My voice cracks, but I force it to stay loud. You're just choosing the date of their funeral. Hargas pauses, the tip of his spear inches from my chest. 1 more word, boy, and you're the first course. I blink, and the system activates, living balance. A red holographic projection appears over the cow, visible only to me. It calculates the variables in real time. Option A, slaughter cow, result, 180 kilograms meat/offal. Plus 210 calories per person. Temporary hunger relief, 12 hours. Long-term recovery, 0%. Survival index, 0% in 3 days. Option B, keep alive, living chain protocol, current requirement, 30 kilograms greenery/20L water. Projected output, 5L milk/day, initial, first chain, infant survival. Second chain, manure-soil restoration. Survival index, 35% in 6 months. I look Hargas dead in the eyes. Captain, I know you're hungry. But look at the numbers. There are 2,000 people here. If you butcher this cow, every person gets a piece of meat the size of a thumb. That's 200 calories. It won't even stop their stomachs from cramping by tomorrow morning. It's better than nothing, someone yells from the back. Is it? I shoot back. Captain, look at your daughter. I point to a small girl sitting in the dirt near the city gate, leaning against a crumbling wall. She's too weak to join the shouting. Her eyes are glassy, and her hair is falling out in patches. She's dying, Hargas. Her digestive system is shutting down. If you give her a piece of raw, tough beef right now, her body won't handle it. She'll choke, or she'll get sick, and the dehydration from the diarrhea will kill her by sunrise. You know I'm right. The captain freezes. The spear tip wavers. This is the face slap of cold, hard reality. In a starving city, everyone thinks they want meat, but their broken bodies can't process it. But milk? I continue, stepping closer, ignoring the rust smell of his spear. Milk is liquid life. It's fat, protein, and water in a form her body can actually absorb. Give her a cup of warm milk tonight, and she wakes up tomorrow. Give this cow a week of grass, and I'll have enough for 50 children like her. Grass? Hargas laughs, a bitter, dry sound. Look around you, boy. The only thing growing in this city is graves. The dirt is dead. The wells are dry. The dirt isn't dead, I say, my mind racing. It's just empty. And the wells aren't dry, the water table just dropped. I have a way to find both, but I need 24 hours. If I don't produce a liter of milk by sunset tomorrow, you can butch me along with the cow. System, risk assessment, 47% chance of riot. 53% chance of compliance. Hargas stares at me for a long, agonizing 10 seconds. I can see the battle in his head. The soldier wants the meat. The father wants the milk. 24 hours, Hargas finally growls. He turns to the crowd. Anyone who touches this animal before tomorrow's sunset answers to my spear. We've waited 3 years to die, we can wait one more day. The crowd doesn't leave. They just retreat to the shadows of the buildings, watching us like vultures. I can feel their eyes. I turn to the cow. She's leaning against me, her breathing shallow. Cow status, hunger 88%. Dehydration, severe. Time to death, 14 hours. I don't have 24 hours. I have 14. I activate my next tool, Mark of Utility. My vision shifts. The gray, monochromatic ruins of the city suddenly have faint highlights. Most things are red, useless, or gray, neutral. But near the old, collapsed drainage pipes at the north wall, I see a faint, pulsing green glow. Resource detected, deep-rooted sedge, drought-resistant, nutritional value, low, high fiber, status, accessible. Volume, 45 kilograms. I also see a yellow glow coming from a pile of rubble near the old tannery. Resource detected, stagnant underground seepage, status, non-potable for humans. Potable for ruminants after basic filtration. I need 3 people, I call out to the shadows. I don't want soldiers. I want people who still have enough strength to dig. There's feed in the north drains. Weeds that you can't eat, they'll twist your guts, but this cow can turn them into milk. A young boy, maybe 12 years old, steps out from behind a crate. He's thin, but his eyes are sharp. My mark of utility flashes gold over him. Candidate, Wren, Role, Scout/Gatherer, Trait, Alley Rat, knows every hidden crawlspace in the city. Loyalty, 10%, suspicious. I know where the green stuff is, the boy says, his voice a whisper. But why should I help you? If the cow dies, I might get a scrap of leather to chew on. If the cow lives, I say, you get the first cup of milk. And you get to be the one who kept it alive. Do you want to be a scavenger, or do you want to be a farmer? The word farmer sounds like a fairy tale in this place. Wren looks at the cow, then at me. He nods once. Good, I say. Wren, take 2 others. Get to the north drain. Pull every green blade you find. Don't eat it. If I find 1 leaf in your mouth, the deal is off. As they head off, I turn to the cow. I have a plan, but the math is brutal. 30 kilograms of weeds will give her enough energy to survive, but not enough to produce milk. To get milk, I need a chain boost. I need the system to recognize a completed cycle. I look at the dry, cracked earth beneath the cow's hooves. Soil quality, 0.2/100, sterile. If she eats, she'll produce manure. If I mix that manure with the seepage water and the silt from the drain, I can create a growth patch. If the system sees me turning waste into life, it'll grant me the first chain reward. But I have a problem. To get to the seepage water, I have to go through the tannery district. And that's where the quick fix faction lives, the people who don't want to wait for milk. I check my stats. Kang Duyun, Strength, 4 Agility, 5 Intelligence, 9 Energy, 10 out of 10. I am a weakling with a cow. And in 4 hours, the sun will go down. Night in this city of dead dust doesn't bring relief. It just brings the cold, a dry, biting chill that seeps into your bones. I have 12 hours left. Current status, 11:45 p.m., cow hunger, 92%, critical, cow dehydration, 94%, near fatal, milk output, 0.0 L. The cow is lying in the dirt of the central plaza. Her breathing sounds like sandpaper rubbing together. If she doesn't get water and fiber in the next 3 hours, her organs will start to shut down. If she dies, Hargaz's spear will be through my chest before her heart stops beating. Ren, the boy I recruited, has already disappeared into the shadows toward the north drain with 2 other starving kids. But the sedge they are gathering is dry and fibrous. To a dying cow, it's like trying to eat sawdust. She needs water to process it. She needs a slurry. Stay here, I whisper to the cow. Don't die. That's an order. I head toward the tannery district. My mark of utility is pulsing yellow, guiding me toward the stagnant seepage. The tannery is a graveyard of vats and rotting leather. It smells of ammonia and old death. But more importantly, it's the territory of the quick fix faction. These are the guys who don't believe in tomorrow. If they see me, they won't talk, they'll just weigh my clothes and decide if they're worth the effort of stripping my corpse. I crouch behind a collapsed brick wall. My mark of utility highlights a specific spot under a heavy stone slab near a cracked vat. Resource detected, deep aquifer seepage, status, 15L accessible via siphon. Note, high mineral content, safe only for ruminants. I have a hollow reed I found in the plaza and a cracked clay pot. I just need to get to that slab. Suddenly, a shadow moves. Well. If it isn't the cowboy Dot. I freeze. 3 men step out from the ruins of a drying shed. They aren't as thin as the others. They look greasy, like they found a secret stash of something and haven't shared it. The one in the middle is holding a heavy iron bar. This is Butcher Jax, the man who ran the city's slaughterhouses before there was nothing left to kill. You're late, kid, Jax says, tapping the iron bar against his palm. We were going to wait for Hargas to get bored, but our stomachs are impatient. Where's the animal? Tactical assessment, Jax, level 1 thug, strength, 12 agility, 7 intelligence, 4, my strength, 4, win probability in direct combat, 0.01%. I can't fight him. I can't outrun him. I have to use the environment. I look at the vat next to him. It's tipped at a 45-degree angle, held up by a rotting wooden support. My mark of utility flashes a tiny red dot on the wood. Structural weakness, termite damage plus dry rot. Impact at 10 pounds of force will collapse the vat. Inside that vat is a gallon of old, concentrated tanning acid, limestone and sulfur. The cow is in the plaza, Jax. Surrounded by 50 guards, I say, keeping my voice steady. But you're not here for the cow. You're here because you know that if I make this work, your power over the food supply is gone. You like people being desperate. It makes them easy to lead. I like people being neat, Jax growls, stepping forward. And you look like a lean cut. He swings the bar. I dive to the left, my shoulder hitting the jagged bricks. He's slow because he's arrogant. Wait! I yell, pointing at the slab. There's a stash of grain under that stone. I hit it when I arrived. Jax stops. His eyes greedily shift to the stone slab I was aiming for. Grain? In this hellhole? Check it yourself, I say, backing away toward the tilted vat. Jax signals one of his men. The lackey runs to the slab and starts prying it up. He's looking for food. He's distracted. Jax steps closer to me, right under the shadow of the tilted vat. If you're lying, kid, I'm going to peel you like an orange. I'm not lying, I say, and I kick the rotting wooden support with everything I have. Crack! The wood snaps like a dry bone. The massive lead-lined vat groans and slides. Jax looks up just in time to see a wave of black, foul-smelling liquid crashing down on him. He screams as the alkaline solution hits his eyes and skin. It's not instant death, but it's agonizing. His two men panic, slipping in the sludge as they try to pull him away. I don't wait to watch. I scramble to the slab, shove the hollow reed into the crack I found earlier, and start siphoning. Siphoning water, 1L. 5L. 10L energy consumed, 4 remaining energy, 6. I fill my pot and run. My lungs are burning, and my legs feel like lead. I can hear Jax's muffled roars behind me, but they're getting quieter. I've made an enemy for life, but I've secured the most important resource in the city. I make it back to the plaza just as the first hint of gray light hits the horizon. Ren is there, his hands bleeding and his shirt filled with dry, green sedge. I got it, Ren pants. It's tough as leather. The cow won't touch it. She will if we prep it, I say. I pour the seepage water into a stone trough. I take the sedge and start crushing it with a heavy rock, mixing it with the water to create a green, soggy mash. Then, I do the one thing that makes everyone in the shadows groan in disgust. I reach under the cow and grab a handful of her dry, crumbly manure from the day before. What are you doing? Ran hisses. That's filth. That's a catalyst, I say. The living chain protocol requires a cycle. I mix a small amount of the processed manure rich in specific bacteria back into the water and mash. It's a primitive way to stimulate her rumen, the first stomach. I'm not just feeding her, I'm rebooting her digestive system. System, biomass created, low grade, nutritional value, 15%, enhanced by slurry, chain action detected, waste to resource cycle. I hold the mash up to the cow's nose. She sniffs it. Her ears twitch. Slowly, she begins to lap at the water, then she starts chewing. Crunch. Slurp. Crunch. Cow hunger, 92%-85%, cow dehydration, 94%-70%, biosynthesis initiated. For the next 2 hours, Rin and I sit there in the dirt, hand-feeding a dying animal while the entire city watches us from the dark. I can see Hargas standing by the well, his spear reflecting the rising sun. He's checking his watch. Deadline, 1 hour remaining, milk reservoir, 0.4L. 0.7L. The cow stands up. It's a shaky, clumsy movement, but she's on all 4 legs. Her udder, which looked like a shriveled glove, is starting to show the slightest bit of tension. Ren, I say, my voice raspy. Find a clean bowl. Not a rusted one. Clean it with the last of the water. Are we really going to do it? Ren asks, his eyes wide. The math doesn't lie, I say. I check the living balance one last time. Estimated output, 1.2 liters, current demand, 2,000 people. This is the most dangerous moment. 1 liter of milk for 2,000 people is nothing. If I just give it to the crowd, they'll fight over it, spill it, and then kill me anyway. I have to make a choice. A choice that will cost me. If I give it to Hargas's daughter, I secure the captain's loyalty, but the rest of the city will see me as a puppet. If I give it to the workers, we can start the fields, but the children will keep dying. If I give it to Rin and the kids, I build a future, but I lose my protection today. Hargas walks over. The sun is officially above the horizon. Time's up, boy, Hargas says. He looks at the cow. She's standing. I'll give you that. But where's the life you promised? I reach under the cow. My hands are shaking, but I find the teat. I pull. Ping. Ping. Squirt. The sound of milk hitting the bottom of a wooden bowl is the loudest thing in the city. A collective gasp ripples through the plaza. People are standing up, moving closer, their faces twisted with a mix of awe and hunger. I fill the bowl. It's thick, yellowish, and steaming in the cold morning air. Milk produced, 1.2L, system, first link completed. Survival Index, 2.1%-2.8%, Reward, Skill Unlocked, Soil Evaluation. I stand up, holding the bowl. 2,000 pairs of eyes are fixed on it. Hargas reaches out, his hand trembling. My daughter. He whispers. I look at the bowl. Then I look at the crowd. Then I look at the butcher Jax, who is standing at the edge of the plaza, his face red and peeling from the acid, watching me with pure hatred. This milk isn't for your daughter, Captain, I say loudly. The plaza goes silent. Hargas's face turns dark. He grips his spear. What did you say? And it's not for the workers, I continue. Give it here or I'll take it, someone screams. I hold the bowl higher. This milk is a seed. If you eat a seed, you have one meal. If you plant it, you have a harvest. Captain, if I give this to your daughter, she lives one more day. But if we use this correctly, everyone here lives forever. How? Hargas growls, his spear point touching my throat. It's one bowl of milk, you lunatic. It's not a bowl of milk, I say, my mind spinning the next part of the strategy. It's a bribe. The tip of Hargas's spear is a cold, rusted needle against the skin of my throat. I can see the veins popping on his forehead, a map of pure, unadulterated desperation. Behind him, 2,000 starving souls have gone silent, their collective breath held in a lung-burning pause. The air is so still you could hear a flea jump. My daughter is dying, Hargas whispers, his voice shaking with a mix of grief and murderous intent. You have the cure in your hands, boy. And you call it a bribe? You play games with a father's heart while she fades into the dirt? I don't blink. If I show even a flicker of fear, the system fails. The logic of power in this city is binary, you are either the predator or the prey. System warning, stress level high, Hargas aggression, 95%, chance of immediate execution, 88%, protocols active, living balance / mark of utility. It's a bribe for the future, Captain, I say, my voice projecting across the plaza, hitting the ears of every vulture watching from the shadows. If I give this entire bowl to your daughter, she lives today. She drinks, she sleeps, she wakes up tomorrow. But look at your men. Look at the walls. Look at the tannery district where Jax is currently cauterizing his face and sharpening his cleaver. If I give her this milk and don't secure the cow's position, Jax will come tonight. He will kill you, he will kill me, and then he will drink the milk over your daughter's corpse. Is that the cure you want? A 12-hour reprieve followed by a massacre? Hargas's grip on the spear trembles. He looks at his daughter, a tiny, skeletal heap near the wall, then back at the bowl of steaming, yellowish milk. The logic is hitting him. It's a bitter pill, but in a world of zeros, even a 0.1% chance of a future is a lifeline. I'm not a doctor, Captain, I continue, lowering my voice but keeping it hard. I'm an architect. And I need to build a fortress. Run. The young scout steps forward from the shadows. He looks terrified, his knees knocking together, but he's holding the empty clay pot I gave him. Divide the 1.2 liters, I order. 0.3 liters to Rin and the gatherers. They worked through the night, they need the calories to find more sedge. 0.3 liters to Silas the smith. 0.3 liters to Garrett the carpenter. And 0.3 liters to the captain's daughter. Hargas's eyes widen. You're giving her a quarter? After all that talk? It's her salary, I say firmly. Because from this moment on, you aren't just the guard captain. You're the chief of security for the first dairy. If the cow dies, your daughter's salary disappears. If the cow is stolen, your daughter starves. Do we have a deal, or do I need to find a captain who values his child's future more than his own pride? System, tactical compromise successful, Hargas aggression, 95%-40%, subordinate gained, Hargas, guard captain, loyalty, 15%, contractual. Hargas slowly, painfully lowers his spear. He takes the small portion of milk, less than a cup's worth, and walks to his daughter. The crowd watches in absolute, agonizing silence as he drips the liquid into the girl's mouth. It isn't a miracle. She doesn't jump up and dance. But her eyes flutter. She swallows. A faint bit of color returns to her waxen skin. Silas. Garrett. I shout, not giving the crowd time to think or rebel. Step forward. Two men emerge from the crowd. Silas is a mountain of a man with burnt-off eyebrows and hands like anvils. Garrett is thin, with fingers that look like gnarled wood and eyes that can spot a bent nail in a pile of rubble. They look at the milk in Ren's pot with a hunger that borders on insanity. I have 0.3 liters for each of you, I say. But I don't pay for nothing. Silas, I need 5 buckets mended and a heavy locking mechanism for the hutch. Garrett, I need a reinforced pen built with a double entry gate and a hidden floor drain. You have until sunset. If the work is done, you drink. If not, the milk goes to the next man in line. This is the new economy of this city. We trade labor for life. You're a demon, kid, Silas grunts, wiping soot from his forehead. Paying with liquid gold. Fine. I'll melt down the old gate hinges. It'll be the strongest lock in this rotting city. System, infrastructure phase initiated, resources spent, 0.9 L milk/10 energy, projected growth, security plus 40%, water storage plus 20%. By noon, the plaza has transformed. The sound of hammers hitting metal and saws cutting salvaged wood echoes through the streets. It's a rhythmic, mechanical pulse that the city of dead dust hasn't felt in years. People are watching. They see the smith and the carpenter working, and they know why. The logic of the living chain is starting to infect them. If they work, there is a chance for a resource. If there is a resource, they live, but not everyone is happy. The boy is a blasphemer, a shrill, oily voice calls out from the steps of the old town hall. I turn. Coming down the stairs is Elder Thorn. He's the spiritual leader of the city, a man who has maintained power for 3 years by convincing everyone that the drought is a divine punishment. He's surprisingly plump for a man in a starving city, his robes clean and his skin clear. The great sun brought the drought to purge our sins, Thorn cries, raising his hands. And now this stranger brings a beast of the earth to tempt us. That milk is a curse. We should sacrifice the animal to the sun to bring the rains back, not worship it like a god. The crowd wavers. 3 years of propaganda is a heavy weight. I see several men reach for stones. System, internal threat detected. Elder Thorn, power base, religious manipulation/ration skimming, tactical advice, discredit his divine authority using soil evaluation. I step toward Thorn, my hands empty. Elder, you say the sun wants a sacrifice? You say the earth is dead because we are cursed? Exactly. Thorn sneers. Nothing grows because the gods have turned their faces away. Then why, I say, activating soil evaluation, is the ground under your private garden behind the town hall currently sitting at a fertility level of 15/100, while the rest of the city is at 0.1? Thorn pales. What nonsense are you talking about? I walk to the edge of the town hall steps and kick at the dirt. In my vision, a green glow pulses deep underground. You tell these people to starve while you hide a sacred well under your floorboards. You use the water to grow tomatoes while they eat bark. You don't want a sacrifice to bring rain, Thorn. You want a sacrifice because my cow is the first thing in 3 years that you don't control. I turn to the crowd. Who wants to see the elder's secret garden? The roar that goes up from the mob is different this time. It's not the roar of hunger, it's the roar of betrayal. They surge toward the town hall. Thorn tries to scream, to call for his personal guards, but Hargaz's men simply step aside. They've seen their daughters fade while Thorn stayed fat. Within 10 minutes, the town hall is being stripped. Thorn is dragged out, his finery torn. They found the well. It's shallow, nearly dry, but it's there. And they found his stash, 10 sacks of grain hidden behind a false wall. Captain, I say to Hargas, who is watching the chaos with a grim smile. Secure that grain. Don't let them eat it yet. That grain is the second link in the chain. You want to plant it? Hargas asks, his voice now filled with a strange kind of respect. No, I say, looking at the cow. I want to sprout it. We're going to create hydroponic fodder. We feed the cow the sprouts, her milk production triples, and the manure she produces, well, that's how we turn the rest of this dust back into soil. System, closed loop potential identified, new objective, create first compost pile, resource check, 10 sacks of grain, moldy, 1 shallow well, 50 kilograms cow manure. But as the sun begins to set, a new shadow falls over the plaza. Jax is standing at the end of the main street. He's not alone. He has 20 men from the tannery, all armed with iron bars and flaying knives. His face is a ruin of blisters and bandages from the acid, but his eyes are burning with a cold, focused rage. "Nice farm you've got here, kid," Jax yells, his voice a guttural rasp. "A smith, a carpenter, a well, and a cow. You've done all the hard work for me. Now, move aside. We're coming for our dinner." I look at the sun. It's touching the horizon. Cow health, 45%, milk reservoir, 0.8 L, energy, 4 out of 10. I am exhausted. My subordinates are tired. And Jax is coming for blood. I have to defend the farm with nothing but a few mended buckets and a lock. "Hargas," I say, my mind clicking through the tactical variables. "Get the men. We aren't fighting them in the street. We're bringing them into the maze." Jax doesn't charge. He's a butcher, not a berserker. He knows how to take apart a carcass piece by piece, and he views this plaza as his next slaughterhouse. He and his 20 men spread out in a semicircle, their flaying knives glinting in the dying orange light of the sun. Each one of them is a veteran of the famine years, men who survived by stealing from the mouths of the dead. "Hargas," I say, my voice low. "Don't meet them in the open. Your men are too weak. If they get surrounded, it's over in 30 seconds. System, tactical analysis initiated, enemy force, 21, armed, high morale/hunger, friendly force, 6, exhausted, moderate morale, win probability, 12%, frontal assault/64%, asymmetric trap." "What's the plan, kid?" Hargas grunts, his knuckles white around his spear. "We don't have enough men to hold the line." "We aren't holding a line," I say, glancing at the newly built pen. "We're holding a funnel." "Silas." "The buckets." "Garrett." "The gate." The butcher laughs, a wet, rattling sound. "You're going to hide behind a wooden fence, boy? I've seen sturdier cages in a chicken coop." Jax signals, and his men begin to move. They aren't running, they're stalking. They know we have nowhere to go. Behind us is the town hall, and to our sides are the collapsed ruins. The only safe spot is the small, reinforced hutch where the cow is shivering. "Now!" I yell. Silas, the smith, doesn't pick up a weapon. Instead, he grabs 2 of the heavy iron buckets he just mended. But they aren't filled with water. They're filled with the black, oily sludge from the bottom of Elderthorn's shallow well, a mix of silt, old grease, and concentrated cow manure. Silas heaves the liquid across the only clear path to the cow's pen. "Slime?" Jack sneers, stepping into the dark puddle. "That's your defense? You're going to make us slip?" Jack steps forward, but as his boots hit the sludge, I see his eyes go wide. "It's not just slippery. My mark of utility highlights the chemical reaction. The sludge, mixed with the lime dust Silas added from the smithy, creates a slick, semi-caustic film. It's like stepping on a sheet of greased glass. 2 of Jax's men lose their footing immediately, crashing into the dirt. But Jax is fast. He stabs his iron bar into the ground to stabilize himself. "Kill them!" Jax screams. "Take the cow. Leave the boy for me." The thugs surge forward. They have to slow down to navigate the sludge, and that's when Garrett, the carpenter, earns his milk. He kicks out a support beam on the double entry gate. The heavy timber doesn't just fall, it swings on a reinforced pivot Silas forged. The gate slams shut, not to keep us in, but to trap the first 5 thugs in a narrow, 3-foot-wide kill zone between the pen and the ruins. "Hargas, now! Through the gaps!" I command. Hargas and his 5 guards don't have to fight 20 men at once anymore. They only have to fight 5. And they don't even have to step into the sludge. Garrett built the pen with spear ports slotted gaps at chest height. Thrust. Withdraw. Thrust. The screams of the trapped thugs echo through the plaza. It's a slaughter. Hargus's men, driven by the memory of their starving children, don't show mercy. The spears find eyes, throats, and bellies. System, enemy casualties, 5, enemy morale, 85%-55%, resource expended, 15 kilograms silt sludge / 2 spears, damaged. Jax roars in fury, trying to climb over the wooden fence. But the hidden floor drain Garrett installed wasn't just for cleaning manure. As Jax puts his weight on the top rail, the ground beneath the fence, loosened by the drainage channel, gives way. The fence doesn't break, it tilts outward, dumping Jax and 3 others into a 4-foot-deep trench filled with the overflow from the well. They're trapped in a pit of mud and filth, struggling to climb out while the wood of the fence pins them down. Run! The grain! I shout. Rin and the other kids appear on the roof of the hutch. They aren't throwing stones. They are throwing the moldy, dust-covered grain we took from Elder Thorn. But they've soaked it in the last of the tanning acid I siphoned earlier. The grain hits the thugs in the pit. The acid is diluted, but it burns their eyes and stings their skin. It's a psychological face slap. They came for a meal, and now they're being pelted with the very food they crave, but it's poisoned. It's over, Jax. I yell, standing over the pit. I'm holding a heavy torch I took from the town hall. The captain's spear is at your throat, and your men are either dead or blinded. Drop the iron bar, or I'll see how well that tanning sludge burns. Jax looks up at me. His face is a mask of mud and hate. He looks at his remaining men, the ones outside the pit. They are backing away. They've seen 5 of their brothers turned into pincushions in 30 seconds. They see the captain, energized by the milk, looking like a vengeful god. Jax lets go of the bar. It thuds into the mud. You think you've won, kid? Jax spits, wiping acid-soaked green from his eye. You've just built a bigger target. People will hear about this. Raiders. Warlords. They'll come for your liquid gold with more than 20 men. Let them come, I say, my voice cold and calculated. By the time they get here, I won't have 1 cow. I'll have a fortress. Hargas, bind them. We need labor for the compost pits. I'm not wasting a single calorie, even the ones in their muscles. System, major threat neutralized. Butcher Jax, captured, reward, command experience plus 200, subordinates gained, 12x laborers, forced, city survival index, 2.8%-5.5%. As the last of the resistance is dragged away, the plaza falls into a heavy, exhausted silence. The sun is gone, replaced by a cold, star-filled sky. Silas and Garrett are slumped against the pen, their faces covered in sweat and grime. We did it, Rin whispers, looking at the bowl of milk Silas is finally allowed to drink. No, I say, checking the living balance window. We just finished the foundation. System update, chain link 2, the soil cycle activated, new resources, 10 sacks of grain / 15 prisoners / 1 well, next goal, establish hydroponic fodder station, 3 days. I walk to the cow. She's chewing rhythmically, oblivious to the blood that was just spilled 10 feet away. I lay my hand on her flank. She feels warmer. The biomash is working. Silas, tomorrow we melt Jax's iron bars, I say. We need plow heads. Garrett, we start the hydroponic racks. We're going to use the heat from the compost pits to sprout that moldy grain. We feed the sprouts to the cow, her milk production hits 10 liters, and then we start feeding the rest of the children. And the prisoners? Hargas asks, his spear still drawn. They dig, I say. They dig the irrigation channels from Thorn's well to the north field. If they work, they get a cup of milkway at the end of the day. If they don't, they become the next layer of compost. In this city, everyone belongs to the chain now. I look out over the ruins. For the first time in 3 years, there isn't just the smell of dust. There's the smell of wet earth and hope. But Jax was right about one thing, the world is watching. Current status, 1 a.m., milk production, 0.8 L, reserved for morning ration, survival index, 5.5%, population status, stabilizing. I check my energy. February 10th. I'm about to collapse, but I can't sleep yet. I have to calculate the ratios. How much grain can we sprout? How many liters of water per prisoner? How many days until the first heated harvest? I sit in the dirt next to the cow and pull out a charred piece of wood to start scratching numbers onto a flat stone. Was it worth it? Garrett asks, looking at the bodies being dragged away. I look at the captain's daughter, who is sleeping soundly for the first time in months. I look at the cow, the single point of light in a dark world. In a strategy game, the first turn is always the bloodiest, I say. But look at the board, Garrett. We still have the king. And now, we have the gold. I close my eyes for a second, the system's blue light flickering behind my eyelids. Warning, unknown signature detected in North Sector, distance, 12 miles, threat level, unknown. I grip my piece of charcoal tighter. The living chain has just begun, and the world is already trying to break it. I need more cows. I need more walls. And I need more milk. Ren, I whisper. Wake up at dawn. We're going to find out who else is watching us. 7 days. That's how long it took to turn a plaza of death into a construction site of life. If you looked at the city of dead dust a week ago, you saw a graveyard. Today, if you stand on the roof of the old town hall, you see something else. You see a system. It's small, it's fragile, and it's surrounded by 2,000 hungry eyes, but it's working. System update, Day 10 of Living Chain Protocol, City Survival Index, 5.5%-8.2%, Territory Controlled, 400 square meters, the Green Zone, Population Status, 2,103, Stable, 12 prisoners, Active labor, Resources, 8 sacks of grain, remaining, 1 shallow well, dropping, 2 cows, 1 adult, 1 calf. I'm sitting at a table made of salvaged doors, staring at a map of the plaza. I'm not a king, and I'm not a hero. I'm a glorified foreman with a cow and a spreadsheet. My strength is still a pathetic 4. My agility is a 5. Any one of Hargaz's guards could snap me like a dry twig. But they don't. Because I'm the only one who knows how to turn a handful of moldy grain into 10 liters of milk. We have a problem, boss, Silas says, slamming a rusted iron pipe onto the table. Silas, the smith, is sweating through his soot-stained shirt. He's been working the forge 18 hours a day. He's lost weight, but his eyes are sharper than they were when he was starving. He has a purpose now. The well is dropping, Silas continues. Thorn was a greedy bastard, but he was right about one thing, the water table is falling. We're pulling up more silt than water. If the well goes dry, the fodder dies. If the fodder dies, the cow dries up. And if the cow dries up, Hargaz's spear finds my throat again. I know, I finish for him. Resource check, water supply, current intake, 100 L/day, well capacity, 200 L remaining, trend, negative, losing 50 L/day to evaporation and siltation. This is the classic strategy game trap. You expand your production, and your base resources can't keep up. I have the grain, I have the labor, but I'm missing the lubricant for the whole machine, water. Garrett! Get in here! I shout. Garrett, the carpenter, walks in, wiping sawdust from his hands. He's been building the hydroponic racks out of old roof beams. Between him and Silas, they've created the first greenhouse the city has seen in a generation. Tell me about the racks, Garrett. Give me numbers. We've got 10 racks finished, Garrett says, leaning on the table. Each rack holds 20 trays. We're using the heat from the compost pits, the ones the prisoners are turning, to keep the grain at 80 degrees. It's sprouting like crazy. We put in 1 kilogram of dry grain, we get 6 kilograms of green fodder in 6 days. It's a miracle, kid. It's not a miracle, it's biology, I snap. But biology needs water. How much are we losing to runoff? About 40%, Garrett admits, looking down. The trays are wood. They leak. The water hits the dirt and disappears. Task: water conservation. Solution: waterproofing the system. Cost: 20 kilograms lead or 10 kilograms resin or 50 kilograms clay. I don't have lead. I don't have resin. But the mark of utility shows me a vein of heavy, gray clay at the bottom of the Old North Canal, the one that's been dry for a decade. We need that clay, I say, pointing to the map. But that canal is outside the green zone. It's in the shadow district. Jax's old crew, the ones who didn't join us, they're hiding out there. They're hungry, they're armed, and they're waiting for us to make a mistake. I'll take 4 men, Hargas says, appearing in the doorway. He's been listening. He looks different now. He's wearing a breastplate Silas hammered out of a scrap metal barrel. We'll clear the canal. We'll get your clay. No, I say. If you go in there with spears, they'll just retreat into the ruins and pick you off with stones. We don't have the numbers for a war. We need a trade. Trade what? Silas grunts. We don't have anything but milk, and we're already short on that. We trade the one thing Jax's crew doesn't have, information, I say. And a chance to join the chain. Mini episode, the Shadow District negotiation. I walk into the Shadow District with only Ren and Hargas. I'm carrying a small wooden bucket. It's heavy. Status, entering neutral/hostile territory, enemy count, 40 plus, estimated, risk level, high. The Shadow District is a labyrinth of collapsed tenements and narrow alleys. It smells of wood smoke and desperation. Faces peer out from broken windows. These people are the lost, those who didn't believe in the cow, or those who were too afraid to leave their ruins. Stop right there, cowboy, a voice yells from a second-story balcony. A man named Kale steps out. He was Jax's lieutenant. He's holding a crossbow, a rare weapon in this city. It's rusted, but at 10 feet, it'll put a bolt through my heart before Hargas can blink. You're a long way from your farm, Kale sneers. Did the cow die? Come to beg for mercy? The cow is fine, Kale. She's better than fine. She's producing 12 liters a day, I lie. The actual number is 9, but in a negotiation, you always inflate the asset. I'm here because I need clay from the canal. And you're here because you're tired of eating rats. I set the bucket down on the cobblestones. I open the lid. The smell of fresh, warm milkwhey, the byproduct of the cheese experiments Silas and I have been running, wafts up. It's sweet, fatty, and smells like life. I see Kale's nose twitch. I see the men behind him lean forward. That's whey, I say. High in protein, easy to store. I have 10 gallons of it. I don't need it. I want the clay at the bottom of the canal. If you let my men dig for 3 hours, this bucket is yours. And tomorrow, if the clay is good, I'll bring a gallon of the real stuff. Tactical calculation, the hook, offer, 1L whey, cost, 0 to me, it's waste, access to clay, vital resource, psychological factor, they are starving. The sunk cost of a fight is higher than the reward of a trade. Kale looks at the bucket. He looks at my thin, unarmed frame. He knows he could just kill me and take the bucket. If you kill me, Kale, you get 1 liter of whey, I say, as if reading his mind. And then Hargas and his guards burn this district to the ground. You might kill some of them, but the well will be poisoned, the cow will be slaughtered in the chaos, and you'll go back to eating rats until you die in a week. Or, you let us dig. You get fed. And in a month, when the fields are green, you get a job. Kale stares at me for a long time. The tension is so thick I can taste the salt in the air. Dig, Kale finally grunts. But if I see a spear pointed at my men, I'll put a bolt in your head. Trade successful, access to clay gained, loyalty gained, Shadow District, neutral/wary. Construction phase, the clay lining the prisoners work like demons. Under the watchful eye of Hargas, they haul sleds of gray, sticky clay from the canal back to the green zone. Silas and Garrett take charge. This is the part the viewers love, the how-to of survival. We're going to line the hydroponic trays with a half-inch of fire-cured clay, Silas explains to the laborers. Then we're going to build a closed-loop gutter system. Any water that drains from the top rack goes into the second. Any water from the second goes to the third. The bottom rack drains into a collection barrel, and we pump it back to the top. Project: the closed loop racks. Resources: 200 kilograms clay, 10 salvaged pipes, 5 laborers. Time: 48 hours. I spend the next 2 days counting. 10 racks. 200 trays. Each tray grows 5 kilograms of sprouts. Total daily yield: 160 kilograms of fresh, green fodder. But here's the kicker: the economy of heat. We can't just leave the compost pits in the sun, I tell Garrett. We need to build the racks on top of the pits. The fermenting manure and waste produce natural heat. We trap that heat with salvaged glass and hides. It's a greenhouse effect. We don't need fuel. We use the cow's own waste to grow her food. System insight: synergy detected, manure-heat plus fertilizer-sprouted grain-cow food-milk plus manure, chain efficiency, plus 25%. When the first cycle finishes, the results are staggering. The cow, whom Ren has named Bessie, against my practical advice, looks like a different animal. Her coat is shiny. Her ribs are disappearing under a layer of healthy fat. And her udder is heavy. Daily report: Day 14, milk production, 14.5 liters, surplus, 4.5 liters. What do we do with the extra? Hargas asks. He's standing by the distribution table. His daughter is there, holding a small wooden cup. She's walking now. She's still thin, but she's smiling. We don't give it away, I say. We use it to hire more subordinates. I look at the crowd gathered at the edge of the green zone. There are hundreds of them now. They aren't holding knives. They're holding tools. They've seen the green sprouts. They've smelled the fresh milk. Ren, I say. Go to the crowd. Tell me I need 10 soil turners. I need people who are willing to dig up the old cobblestones in the north field and sift the rocks out of the dirt. Payment is half a liter of milk per day. Expansion phase: the north field. Task: cobblestone removal/soil aeration. Labor cost: 5L milk/day. Future reward: 1 acre of cereal crops. By sunset, I have a team of 20 workers. They are working under the moonlight, prying up the stones that have covered the earth for centuries. Silas is turning those stones into a new, reinforced wall for the green zone. Nothing is wasted. Every rock is a brick. Every drop of sweat is a future calorie. But as I'm watching the progress, the system pings. Warning: living chain protocol, external threat approaching, signature type, mounted scouts, distance, 8 miles, ETA, 4 hours. I freeze. The 12-mile signature from the end of the last part has moved. They aren't just watching anymore. They're coming to investigate the anomaly. Hargas. I shout. Get the men. Douse the torches. We're going dark. What is it, boss? Company is coming, I say, my mind already calculating the defense. And they aren't coming to trade. I look at our base. It's beautiful, but it's a paper fortress. A single fire arrow could take down the hutch. A charge of 5 horses could break the gate. I have 4 hours to turn a farm into a trap. Countdown: 3 hours to contact. Status: red alert, energy, June 10th. Hargas, stop pacing. You're wearing a hole in the dirt, I say, my voice sounding a lot calmer than I feel. Inside, my heart is a frantic bird hitting the cage of my ribs. Boss, they have horses, Hargas snarls, checking the edge of his rusted spear. In this terrain, a horse is a tank. They'll run right over our wooden gates. My men aren't knights. They're skeletons with sticks. Then we don't let them run, I say. I look at Silas and Garrett. We have 3 hours. We aren't building a wall. We're building a logistics nightmare. Tactical plan: Operation Tripwire. Objective: neutralize mobility without direct combat. Resources: 50 kilograms clay, 20 iron spikes, salvaged, 10 gallons of waste slurry, 50 straw mats. Silas, take the prisoners, I order. I want caltrop holes dug every 3 feet starting at the north gate. Not big pits, just deep enough to catch a horse's hoof. Fill the bottom with the clay we got from the canal. It'll act like suction. Once a horse steps in, it's not getting out without snapping a leg. That's cruel, Ren whispers, hugging his knees. It's survival, Ren, I say, not looking at him. A snapped leg for a horse is a meal for the city and safety for the cow. Garrett. The compost pits. What about them? They're steaming, I say, pointing to the hydroponic racks. The fermentation is peaking. I want you to vent the heat. Use the salvaged pipes. Aim them toward the main entrance. When the cold night air hits that 80-degree steam, it's going to create a localized fog bank. They won't be able to see their own hands, let alone the holes in the ground. System insight, environmental manipulation, cost, 5 energy/10 L water, waste, result, the mist visibility reduced to 2 meters for 1 hour. I spend the next 2 hours moving like a ghost through the plaza. I use my mark of utility to find the exact stress points of the entrance road. I have the prisoners lay down straw mats over the slick clay patches. To a scout, it will look like a dry, dusty road. To a horse, it's a slip-and-slide into a broken limb. Finally, we hear it. Thud thud. Thud thud. The sound of hooves hitting the dry earth outside the city walls. It's a rhythmic, heavy sound, the sound of power. In this world, horses are the ultimate luxury. Only a warlord or a high-ranking lord has a mounted scout unit. Torches out, I whisper. Positions. I climb to the roof of the hutch, lying flat against the cool wood. I can smell the cow, Bessie, below me. She's calm, chewing the green sprouts we gave her an hour ago. She has no idea that she's the most valuable target in 100 miles. Enemy signature, 5 mounted scouts, equipment, light leather armor, short bows, steel sabers, status, confident/aggressive. The scouts enter the north gate. They're moving slowly, their horses snorting at the strange smell of the city. Usually, a ruined city smells of ash and rot. This plaza smells of wet earth, fermentation, and milk. What is this? One of the scouts calls out. His voice is clear and arrogant. The report said this city was a graveyard. But look at this mist. It's like a swamp in the middle of a desert. They move into the fog bank. The steam from our compost pits has done its job. The white, thick vapor swallows them. Careful, the leader growls. Something isn't right. I can smell greenery. Real grass. In this dust, another scoffs. You're dreaming, Captain. It's probably just some rotting. Crunch. A wet, sickening snap echoes through the fog. Ack! My horse. Steady, girl. The first horse has found a caltrop hole. It's not a deep pit, but it's enough. The horse stumbles, its front leg caught in the suction of the wet clay. As it falls, it knocks into the second rider. It's a trap, the leader screams. Reverse. Get out of the mist. But they can't see. They turn their horses, and that's when they hit the slick patches. The straw mats slide over the greased clay like ice. 2 more horses go down, their riders screaming as they are thrown into the dirt. Hargas. Now. I yell, Hargas and his 6 men don't charge. They don't need to. They appear from behind the ruins with long, hooked poles, not spears. Hook the saddles. Hargas bellows. The scouts are disoriented. They are trying to control their panicked animals while being pulled from their seats by iron hooks. One scout manages to draw his saber, but Silas is there. He doesn't swing his sword, he throws a heavy iron bucket, the same ones he mended, at the man's head. Clang. The scout falls like a sack of grain. In less than 5 minutes, the mounted unit is neutralized. 3 horses are down with leg injuries, my heart twinges, but the strategy brain is already calculating the meat and leather yield. 2 horses are captured, shivering and wide-eyed. And 5 scouts are pinned to the ground with Hargas's spears at their throats. System, combat victory. 0 casualties, experience gained, 500, loot, 2x healthy horses, 5x steel sabers, 5x short bows, 20l water, canteens, city survival index, 8.2%-12.5%. I climbed down from the roof. My legs are shaking so hard I almost fall, but I keep my face like stone. I walk into the mist, toward the captured leader. He's a young man, maybe 25, with a crest on his leather armor that looks like a rising sun. "Who do you serve?" I ask, my voice echoing in the fog. The scout spits on the ground. "You're a dead man, peasant. You think you can trap the scouts of Lord Valerius? When we don't return, he'll send a battalion. He'll level this city and salt the earth." I don't argue with him. Instead, I signal to Ren. "Ren, bring the bowl." Ren walks over, holding a wooden bowl filled with fresh, thick, steaming milk. I take it and hold it under the scout's nose. The scout freezes. He hasn't seen fresh milk in years. Lord or not, everyone in this region is suffering from the drought. His eyes go wide. He looks at the bowl, then at the green racks of fodder visible through the thinning mist, then back at me. "Where?" He stammers, his arrogance vanishing. "How is this possible? There is no grass for 100 miles. Lord Valerius serves the old world," I say, my voice cold. "The world of take and burn. I serve the new world. The world of build and grow. Tell me, Scout. Does your lord give you milk? Does he give his horses green sprouts in the middle of a famine?" The scout looks at his fallen horse, the animal he's probably lived with for years. He looks at the green sprouts I've scattered on the ground to calm the captured animals. He gives us dry grain. "Half rations," the scout whispers. "Then you're fighting for the wrong side," I say. I turn to Hargas. "Put them in the cellar. Feed them the way from the cheese experiments. Don't hurt them. There are new diplomats. "Diplomats?" Hargas grunts. "They're spies, boss. We should hang them from the walls to show Valerius we mean business." "No," I say, walking toward the hydroponic racks. "We're going to send one of them back. But not with a message of war. We're going to send him back with a bottle of milk and a map to our market. Strategic Review, Day 15. The morning after the scout attack, the city feels different. The face slap didn't just hit the scouts, it hit our own people. They saw 5 mounted warriors defeated by a weak cowboy in some mud. The loyalty of the workers has skyrocketed. Subordinate update: Hargas, loyalty, 15%-45%, trait unlocked, guardian of the herd, plus 10% combat effectiveness near the base. But the strategy brain is screaming. Lord Valerius is a major threat. He has a battalion. He has 5,000 people under his command. My 12.5% survival index is still pathetic. "Boss, look at this," Silas says, pointing to the loot. The steel sabers are beautiful. High carbon steel. Much better than the rusted scrap we've been using. "Melt down 3 of them," I say. Silas almost drops his hammer. "Melt them? Boss, these are weapons. We can arm the guards." "We don't need 5 swords, Silas. We need 1 master tool," I say. "I want you to forge a heavy-duty soil aerator. A multi-tine plow made of Valerius's own steel. We're going to use the captured horses to pull it. We're going to break the North Field in 3 days instead of 3 weeks. Decision: pivot from military to agriculture, resource conversion, steel sabers - high efficiency plow, expected result, 2 acres of arable land by day 20. "You're crazy," Silas mumbles, but he's already heating up the forge. Actually crazy. For the next 3 days, the base is a hive of activity. The North Field is being plowed by the captured horses, who are remarkably happy to work for green sprouts. The fog system is being integrated into the permanent defense grid. The scouts are being re-educated, watching the children drink milk every morning. But I'm watching the horizon. Lord Valerius won't wait long. I need a bigger deterrent. I go to the system menu. Resource check: 20L surplus milk / 50 kilograms compost / 1 steel plow, evolution available, the living wall, requirements, 100 kilograms bone meal, 500L water, 1 subordinate with nature affinity. I don't have bone meal. But I do have the remains of the horses that didn't survive the tripwire trap. It's a grim thought, but in a strategy game, biowaste is just biofuel. Ren, I call out. The boy runs over. He's been spending all his time with the cow. He has a way with the animals. Do you want to help the city grow faster? Not just the cow, but the walls themselves? Ren nods eagerly. Touch the soil, I say, activating my last 2 energy. I'm going to show you the nature affinity path. We aren't just building a farm, Run. We're building an ecosystem that bites back. System, training subordinate Ren in biomanagement, success rate, 65%. As the blue light of the system flows through my hand and into the dirt, I feel a tremor. Not from the earth, but from the north. Warning, high energy signature detected, type, Lord Valerius's personal guard, count, 50 infantry / 10 cavalry, ETA, 48 hours. I pull my hand back. My energy is at 0 out of 10. My vision is blurring. 48 hours, I whisper to the empty plaza. I hope you like milk, Valerius. Because that's the only thing that's going to keep your head on your shoulders. Countdown, 0 hours to contact, enemy force, 50 infantry, heavy shields, 10 cavalry, steel lances, 1 lord, Valerius, friendly force, 6 guards, 12 prisoners, 1 cow, 1 scared kid, current survival index, 12.5%. Dawn breaks over the city of dead dust, but the sun doesn't bring warmth. It only illuminates the line of polished steel spears glinting on the northern horizon. Lord Valerius hasn't just sent scouts this time. He's brought a small army. I'm standing on the roof of the hutch, looking through a salvaged brass telescope. Lord Valerius is easy to spot. He's riding a massive black stallion, wearing gilded plate armor that probably costs more than my entire city. Behind him, a supply wagon creaks, and 50 professional soldiers march in perfect, terrifying lockstep. Boss, Hargas whispers, his voice cracking. They have Pavis shields. My spears won't even scratch them. And those horses, they aren't light scouts. Those are chargers. They'll go through our gates like paper. I know, Hargas. Relax. If I wanted to fight them in a fair battle, I would have just jumped off this roof an hour ago. I look at my system menu. This is the moment I've been prepping for since the first day. Project, the living wall final phase, requirements, 100 kilograms bone meal, completed, 500L water, allocated, 1 nature affinity subordinate, Ren, energy cost, 8/10, regenerated via milk cream consumption. Run. Now. Ren is kneeling in the dirt at the base of the north gate. He's buried the bone meal from the fallen scout horses in a deep trench along the wall. I've spent the last 48 hours pumping every drop of enriched manure tea into that trench. I jump down and place my hand on Ren's shoulder. System, activating living wall evolution, resource drain, 500L water. 100 kilograms bone meal. 8 energy. The ground doesn't just tremble, it groans. From the bone-filled trench, thick, grayish-green vines begin to erupt. These aren't normal plants. They are thorn stranglers, mutated by the system and fed on the calcium of dead horses. They don't grow inches, they grow feet per second. Within minutes, the flimsy wooden gate is reinforced by a 3-foot-thick layer of pulsating, thorny vines. The thorns are the size of daggers, dripping with a foul-smelling, sticky sap. Infrastructure update, the living wall, defense rating, 50-450, anti-cavalry/anti-siege, note, requires 20L water/day to maintain. What is that? Hargas stammers, backing away as a vine twitches toward his spear. That's our insurance policy, I say, wiping sweat from my eyes. I'm down to 0 energy. My head is spinning, but the wall is up. Lord Valerius's army stops exactly 300 yards from the gate. The mist system is active, creating a thin, white veil that obscures our true numbers. Valerius rides forward alone, a white flag tied to his lance. I am Lord Valerius of the Sungrasp, he bellows, his voice carrying clearly through the dry air. I have seen your miracle. I have tasted your milk. You have stolen my scouts and murdered my horses. Surrender the magic cow and the boy who commands the plants, and I will allow the rest of you to live as my serfs. Refuse, and I will burn this city until the stones turn to glass. Tactical analysis: Lord Valerius, Strength, 25, Intelligence, 15, Charisma, 18, Status, Pragmatic/Greedy, Win Probability, Combat 0.5%, Win Probability, Negotiation 45%. Hargas, open a small slot in the gate, I say. I'm going out. Are you insane, boss? He'll take your head. He wants the cow, Hargas. If I'm dead, he doesn't know how to feed her. He doesn't know how to grow the fodder. He's a lord, he knows that a dead goose lays no eggs. I'm the only one with the manual. I walk out through the living wall, the thorns parting for me as run directs them. I'm not carrying a sword. I'm carrying a small, silver-plated tray I took from Elder Thorn's hoard. On it is a single glass of chilled, frothy milk and a small wedge of what we've been calling dust cheese, a hard, salty curd we developed using the heat from the compost pits. I walk until I'm 20 feet from Valerius. Up close, his horse is terrifying. One kick would end this story. Lord Valerius, I say, giving a shallow bow. I'm Kong Doyen. I don't have a title, but I have the only working economy in this desert. You didn't come here to burn a city. You came here because your own granaries are 80% empty. You came because your people are starting to whisper about revolt. You came for a solution. Valerius looks down at me, his eyes narrowing behind his visor. He looks at the tray in my hand. You think a snack will stop 50 spears, boy? I think the source of the snack will, I reply. Drink. Then we talk numbers. If you kill me, the living wall will wither in an hour, and I've instructed my men to slaughter the cow the second your infantry hits the gate. You'll have a pile of meat for one day. Or, you can listen to my proposal and have a supply line for a decade. Valerius hesitates. He's a strategist. He looks at the living wall, vines made of horsebone and magic. He looks at the mist. He realizes that if he attacks, he might win, but he'll destroy the very thing he's desperate for. He reaches down and takes the glass. He drinks it in one go. His eyes go wide. This is not possible. It is richer than the milk of the royal herds. Because my cow eats the sun, I lie, referring to the hydroponic sprouts. And I can show you how to do it. But it has a price. A price you won't like. Economics of the deal: the Protectorate offer, current surplus milk, 5L/day, Valerius's requirement, 50L/day, to stabilize his elite units, Doyen's requirement, 50 soldiers for protection/200 workers for construction. Speak, Valerius growls, though he's already eyeing the cheese. You don't take the city, I say, standing my ground. You become its investor. You provide 50 infantry to man our walls. You provide 200 laborers to expand our north field. In return, I pay you a milk tax. 10 liters a day, starting next month. And within a year, we turn your capital into a green zone like this one. And what stops me from just taking the cow and the greenhouse now? Me, I say, pointing to the living wall. And the fact that the second you step inside as an enemy, the chain breaks. The living wall is rigged to release a paralytic spore if the gate is forced. My men are ready to burn the fodder racks. You'll enter a graveyard, Valerius. Is that what you want to report to your king? That you found the miracle of the age and turned it into ash in 10 minutes? Face slap initiated, I see the moment the Lord's pride hits the reality of his empty stomach. He looks at his 50 soldiers, tired, dusty, and hungry. He looks at me weak, but holding the keys to the kingdom. You speak of taxes and investment like a merchant, peasant. But you forget who has the steel. And you forget who has the calories, I counter. Steel can't be eaten. Milk can. Which one do you need more today? Valerius looks at the tray. He looks at the city of dead dust. He sees the green sprouts visible over the wall, the only green for 100 miles. I will see this greenhouse myself, Valerius says, dismounting. If you are lying, I will feed you to your own vines. Step inside, my lord, I say, gesturing to the gate. But leave the army outside. My cow gets nervous around spears. Lord Valerius steps through the living wall. The thick, thorny vines pull back with a wet, raspy sound, revealing the inner plaza. I see him flinch. His hand goes to the hilt of his gilded saber, but he doesn't draw it. He's looking at the ground. Usually, a city in this drought is a bowl of dust. But here, the dirt is dark, damp, and smells of life. What is this sorcery? Valerius whispers, kneeling to touch the soil. The earth is breathing. It's not sorcery, my lord. It's compost, I say, leading him toward the hydroponic racks. We take the waste of the city, the manure, the scraps, the filth, and we ferment it. The heat from that decay grows the sprouts. The sprouts feed the cow. The cow feeds the people. The people make the waste. It's a circle. A living chain that doesn't care if it rains or not. I pull a handful of fresh, 6-inch-long green sprouts from a clay tray and hand them to him. They are cool, succulent, and vibrant green. Valerius stares at them like they're bars of solid gold. He's a man who rules thousands, yet he hasn't seen this much green in 3 years. He realizes that my weak farm is more powerful than his entire armory. If he burns this, he burns his only chance to survive the coming winter. Facelap, maximum intensity, system update, Lord Valerius status, stunned/covetous, negotiation leverage, plus 75%. I have 5,000 people in my capital, Valerius says, his voice losing its edge. They are eating bread made of sawdust and ground bone. If I had 10 of these greenhouses, you'd be the most powerful man in the region, I finish. But you can't build them, Valerius. Not yet. You don't have the microbial starter I've developed. You don't have the nature affinity to command the vines. You have the steel, but I have the DNA of the future. I lead him back to the center of the plaza, where Hargas and Ren are waiting. I pull out a piece of charred wood and a flat stone. Here is the investment contract, I say. You leave 50 of your best heavy infantry here. They aren't occupiers, they are asset protection. They report to Hargas. You send 200 laborers to dig the Northfield irrigation canal. In exchange, I give you 10 liters of milk per day and the blueprints for the Stage 1 compost pits for your capital. Economics of the deal: the agro-military pact, Valerius's cost, 250 men, labor/defense, plus 500 kilograms iron ore, Doyen's cost, 10L milk/day plus basic tech transfer, net gain, city defense rating plus 800%/field expansion speed x5. Valerius looks at his army outside the gate. He looks at the living wall. He's a pragmatic wolf. He knows a trap when he sees one, but this trap is filled with milk and honey. You are a dangerous man, Kong Doyen, Valerius says, taking the charcoal and marking the stone. You have no army, yet you've just turned a lord into your farmhand. Fine. The 50 spears stay. The workers arrive tomorrow. But if my milk delivery is late by an hour, I will return with a catapult. Deal, I say, shaking his gauntlet hand. System, major milestone reached. Survival index, 12.5%-28.4%, title earned, the Milk Merchant of Ruins, subordinates gained, 50x Valerius heavy infantry, guarded loyalty. As Valerius mounts his horse and leads the bulk of his army away, leaving 50 grim-faced soldiers behind, Hargas lets out a breath so long I think he's going to collapse. Boss, you actually did it. You sold them milk and bought an army. We didn't buy an army, Hargas. We bought time, I say, my eyes fixed on the horizon. And we're going to need it. Warning, global event triggered. Event, the Great Sky Eater Swarm, Locusts, ETA, 72 hours, threat level, calamity. The blue screen of the system turns blood red. I look at the northern sky. It's not dust. It's not a lord. It's a dark, pulsing smudge on the horizon that stretches for miles. Run. Silas. Garrett. I scream. Forget the North Field. We need nets. We need smoke. We need every scrap of leather and hide in the city. What is it, boss? Ren asks, pointing at the sky. A storm? It's not a storm, Ren. It's the end of the world, I say, my mind already racing through the economics of disaster. Tactical analysis, the Sky Eater swarm, population, 10 billion plus, consumption rate, 1 acre per minute, the problem, the living wall is made of plants. The fodder is made of plants. The locusts will eat the base before they eat the people. Har gas. Tell the new soldiers to stop unpacking. We aren't digging canals anymore. We're digging fire trenches. Silas, I need sulfur. Garrett, I need bellows. In 72 hours, the living chain will face its first natural predator. A predator that doesn't care about investments or taxes. A predator that just wants to eat. I look at the cow, Bessie, who is peacefully chewing a sprout. If those bugs get one leaf of your food, Bessie, we're all dead, I whisper. System. Open the chemical defense tab. How much milk does it cost to brew a gallon of biopoison? System, biopoison recipe unlocked, cost 50 L milk / 10 kilograms fermented manure / 20 energy. I have 3 days to produce 50 liters of milk, I say, turning to Silas. Silas, we're going to overclock the cow. We're going to triple the heat in the compost pits. If she doesn't produce, we're going to be the first city in history to be defeated by a bug. I look at the red warning on the screen. Survival index, 28.4%-5.1%, projected after swarm. Not on my watch, I growl. We aren't just a farm anymore. We're a fortress. And we're about to turn this city into a giant bug zapper. They say a locust swarm can strip a forest in 10 minutes. My entire green zone is less than half an acre. You do the math. Event, the Sky Eater swarm, status, 48 hours to impact, projected loss, 100% of crops / 100% of fodder / 100% of cow health, survival index, 28.4%-5.1%. I'm standing in the center of the hydroponic racks, and for the first time, I'm not looking at a spreadsheet. I'm looking at a death warrant. The horizon to the north isn't blue anymore, it's a pulsing, oily black. The sound is a low, vibrating hum that you feel in your teeth. Boss, we can't hide from this, Silas says, his voice drowned out by the sound of 50 heavy infantrymen sharpening their shields. They aren't soldiers. You can't spear a billion bugs. We aren't going to spear them, Silas. We're going to feed them, I say, my mind clicking through the only tactical path left. But first, we're going to poison the buffet. The strategy, the toxic loop goal, produce 50 L of biopoison milk, current milk production, 14.5 L/day, constraint, 48 hours. Har gas. I need the temperature in the compost pits at 110 degrees. Now. Use the coal we took from Elder Thorn's hoard. Silas, I need you to build a flash dryer for the sprouts. We're going to dehydrate the fodder to concentrate the sugars. We're overclocking the cow. Action, overclocking Bessie, input, high protein dry sprout mash, risk, 40% chance of cow collapse / 60% chance of triple output, cost, 15 energy, all remaining. For the next 2 days, the city is a fever dream of smoke and heat. We don't sleep. We feed Bessie every 2 hours. We used the nature affinity from Ren to keep her heart rate stable while her body processes a month's worth of nutrients in 48 hours. Her udders swell to the point of bursting. It's painful to watch, but it's the only way. Day 22, resource update, milk produced, 52.4 liters, biopoison brewed, 60 liters, milk plus sulfur plus tanning acid plus fermented sap. Garrett. The bellows. I scream as the sky finally turns black at 2 p.m. The first locusts hit the living wall. They are the size of my thumb, with mandibles that sound like tiny scissors. Snip. 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 The wall. It's disappearing. Ren cries, tears in his eyes as his nature vines are devoured. Let them eat. I bark. Hargas, activate the mist. We don't use water this time. We use the biopoison. Silas and his men pump the bellows with everything they have. The fermented sap and poison milk are vaporized by the heat of the compost pits. A thick, sweet-smelling white fog erupts from the pipes, coating every leaf, every vine, and every sprout in a microscopic layer of milk death. Tactical interaction, the sweet bait, locust logic, drawn to high-protein milk sugars, result, accelerated consumption of poison tissue. The swarm doesn't just eat the wall, they frenzy on it. They ignore the people. They ignore the buildings. They pile onto the living wall in a carpet of vibrating wings 6 inches deep. And then, they start to die. It's not a quick death. The tanning acid and sulfur react with the milk proteins to harden their chitinous shells from the inside out. They freeze in place. They fall like heavy, crunchy rain. Clatter. 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 For 3 hours, the world is nothing but the sound of dying bugs hitting the cobblestones. I'm huddled in the hutch, my arm around Bessie, praying the seals on the doors hold. Warning, oxygen levels dropping, warning, temperature rising. When the humming finally fades and the sun peeks through the thinning black clouds, I push open the door. The plaza is buried. There is a 2-foot-deep layer of dead locusts covering everything. The living wall is gone, stripped to the bone. The north field is a wasteland of gray dirt. But the greenhouse is intact. The hutch is safe. And Bessie is alive. System, calamity survived. Experience gained, 2,500, new resource gained, 80 tons of locust meal, high-protein fertilizer, city survival index, 28.4%-42.1%. We won? Hargas asks, stepping out into the sea of dead bugs. He picks one up. It's heavy and brittle. We didn't just win, Hargas, I say, picking up a handful of the dead swarm. This is the face slap the world didn't see coming. These bugs ate Lord Valerius's crops. They ate the wild grass of the plains. They gathered all the nutrients of the region and brought them directly to my front door. I turn to Silas. Silas, get the grindstones. We aren't making flour today. We're grinding these locusts into chitin protein pellets. We're going to feed these back to the cow. We're going to use the shells as the ultimate fertilizer. We've just been handed 10 years' worth of growth in one afternoon. Progression, the great harvest, resource conversion, bio-waste 5-star fertilizer, projected growth, Northfield expansion x10. The city erupts into cheers. For the first time, people are laughing. They are filling buckets with dead bugs like they're gathering gold coins. The living chain has absorbed a disaster and turned it into an upgrade. But the laughter doesn't last long. A lone rider appears at the north gate. He's not a scout. He's a knight, his armor scorched and his horse limping. He falls from his saddle before Hargas can even reach him. Lord Valerius. The knight gasps, coughing up black dust. The capital, it's gone. The swarm, it was too big. The fire started, the people, they're coming. I look past the night, toward the northern horizon. In the distance, I see a line of dust. Not a small unit. Not a battalion. System warning, massive refugee migration detected, count, 5,400 people, status, starving/desperate/armed, distance, 15 miles. Boss, Hargas says, his face going pale as he looks at our small, fragile oasis. We have milk for 50 people. We have grain for 100. We can't take 5,000. If we turn them away, they'll tear the walls down with their bare hands, I say. I look at the 80 tons of locust meal. I look at Bessie. I look at my zero energy. Ren, Silas, Garrett, I say, my voice dropping to a low, tactical hum. The survival phase is over. We've just entered the empire phase. We have 48 hours to figure out how to turn bug flour and one cow into a ration system for 5,000 people. I look at the blue screen. New quest, the bread of sorrows, objective, integrate Lord Valerius's refugees without total system collapse, reward, rank city-state unlocked, penalty for failure, death by mob. Well, I say, grabbing my piece of charcoal and the flat stone. I hope they like locust bread. Because the price of admission to this city just went up. Final status of Episode 1, Survival Index, 42.1%, Territory, 1 city, ruined, Assets, 1 cow, 1 calf, 80 tons protein meal, Subordinates, Hargas, Silas, Garrett, Run, 50 heavy infantry, Current mood, Calculating. I look at the camera or where I imagine the viewer is. You wanted a strategy? I ask the empty air. Watch me turn a famine into a kingdom.